You're with Julian Lebrano, a belated review of Abigail. I think the last sort of 15 years, it's been a great period for horror movies. There's been a lot of very art house stuff by way of the A24 universe and a lot of sort of mainstream schlock. I mean, Maxine, starring Mia Goth, is one of the release events of this year. And we've also had The Omen. I gave a really good review to the first Omen. And it's a very, very similar film, Immaculate, with Sydney Sweeney in already this year. It's been a very strong year. And art house stuff like Infinity Pool, again with Mia Goth in it, and The Witch, and God knows what else. So Abigail sits firmly in the schlocky end of that barrel. It's not an art house proposition like the first Omen surprisingly was, with regards to themes and cinematography and so on. It is very much a comedic, deliberately B-movie-esque horror film, and it taps on some interesting common tropes in horrors. So we get the excellent Alisha Weir as the title Abigail, who's this young girl who's got a rich, distant father who's a mobster, and a gang of people led by... the cast is actually like mid-tier famous all the way through. I think Dan Stevens, like everyone in it you recognise. It's like every single person. He leads a team of people directed by a ghostly background figure played by Giancarlo Esposito, who hires them to kidnap Abigail, the young girl, to take her to this imposingly devilish haunted mansion, and to keep her for ransom from her, I don't know if it's I can't even remember, Russian mobster dad, let's say that. With Melissa Barrera, who I really liked in Scream, the awful recent Scream films, who was booted from the project due to her support of the Palestinian people, which I really was kind of... the fact that other actors have stepped in is... I don't know if I'm happy about that whole scenario. And there's this ragbag team of delinquents that basically make up this semi-competent group of kidnappers. So all of that's as rudimentary as it gets, but what we learn is that they aren't the kidnappers. The Alisha Weir character, Abigail, is in fact a vampire. So instead of them holding her hostage, it is very much the other way around. And if you read any blurb on the film, it's not a giveaway. It's pretty much front and center. This I found to be quite highly enjoyable. It's really a game of not 2 halves, but 4 quarters, because I thought it was all very sort of rote. Even the characters, including Angus Cloud. He plays a getaway driver, and it's I guess his last appearance. He's a star from the TV series Euphoria, and he took his own life or accidentally overdosed. I'm not 100% sure which way round, after his own father passed away, who's apparently very important to him. So a real tragic element to this movie. And Kevin Durand, who shows up in some great films, a massive guy. Very, very interesting cast, and some of them are great, but not all the time. It's like I said, it's a game of 4 quarters. I thought the first quarter was very rudimentary, but once the devilish nature of what's really happening kicked in, the second quarter I thought was excellent. Before it panned down again, and it actually really did improve through the final quarter, where things got interesting again. So it's an uneven watch, but it's also quite often funny, and it's fast, and it's quite goofy, and it is definitely a splattery gore fest as well. I loved Alisha in the main role. I thought she was excellent. Kind of like the alpha to the girl from Let the Right One In sort of opportunity here, I think. Like both sort of similar characters, but one plays it as like Mia Goth in Pearl, She's like really sort of playing it up for the cameras and really enjoying her life a lot. So she's great. I thought she was fantastic. The music was pretty good as well. Brian Tyler, I don't know what other films he's done, but I thought it was pretty decent, actually. The music did stand out. And the editing is fine. A lot of action in it. But it is a perfunctory film. It's not going to really blow anyone away, but it is a good film. It's very entertaining, and the fact that it ends on one of the better quarters as well is a plus point, as I thought it was going to taper out and I'd just be over it, but it actually sort of regained its strength in its final furlong and became quite an enjoyable romp and a very bloody one. Some imaginatively violent gore going on, all in a very comedic mode. So Abigail's a perfectly fine addition to a very strong run of horrors, definitely in the splatterhouse comedic mode rather than any of the sort of more serious The First Omen mode. Not much that's provocative or thematically, subversive in this one. It's all straight, but it's still a good film. Abigail I'm going to give 7.5 out of 10.